Hello there, my name is Richard McMunn from the interview training website, passmyinterview.com, and in this tutorial, I will teach you how to pass a Morgan Stanley interview. So if you are applying for any job role with this brilliant organization, make sure you stay tuned because I promise to help you be the standout candidate. And to achieve that goal, this is what I will cover during this tutorial. Number one, I am going to give you a list of Morgan Stanley interview questions that I strongly recommend you prepare for. These questions come up all the time during Morgan Stanley job interviews. I recommend you prepare answers to them. Number two, I will then give you two very important tips for answering each of those Morgan Stanley interview questions correctly. And then number three, I'm going to give you a top scoring example answer to all of those Morgan Stanley interview questions to help you pass your interview at the very first attempt. And then finally, I will tell you where you can instantly download my full set of 23 Morgan Stanley interview questions and top scoring example answers in a PDF guide. And just very quickly, if you are new to this channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's really important. Literally thousands of you, and I mean thousands of you, are passing your job interviews. I can only help you if you are subscribed. And please make sure you give the video a like. I really do appreciate your support. And by liking the video, it tells me that you find these tutorials useful and it motivates me to create more content for you. Thank you very much. So the first Morgan Stanley interview question I want you to prepare for is, tell me about yourself. So this is going to be the first Morgan Stanley interview question you must answer. Do not give your life story, okay? Instead, talk about the skills, qualities, and experience you have relevant to the position you have applied for, and show passion in your answer for wanting to work for this brilliant organization. And tip number two, in your response, make sure you reference the job description. Tell them you have read the job description and also talk about Morgan Stanley's values. Now, I will reference these important values more often during this tutorial. It's really important you read them and understand them because they will help you to pass your interview. So let me now give you my example answer to that question, tell me about yourself, to help you pass your interview. Here we go. Tell me about yourself. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be interviewed for this position at Morgan Stanley today. Having studied the job description, I'm confident I have the skills and qualities to be a high-performing employee for your organization. I am a supportive team member who listens to people's suggestions and then assesses what I can do to push forward ideas. I take ownership of difficult challenges, remain calm under pressure, and have a learning mindset, which means I'm always seeking to improve, grow, and develop. I studied at Morgan Stanley before applying for the role, and your values are very much aligned with my own. I value cultural diversity, am honest and trustworthy, and have a track record of achievement in previous roles. Now, outside of work, I keep myself fit, active, and lead a healthy lifestyle, which means my energy and concentration levels are always at their peak when I am at work. Now, if you hire me, I will be a positive role model for Morgan Stanley. I will embrace change with a positive mindset and always put your clients first to ensure the great reputation you have worked so hard to build continues. That is a cracking, confident answer to that first Morgan Stanley interview question. Tell me about yourself. Now, you can either pause the video if you want to and write down the questions and answers as we work through them together. Or if you wait, I will soon tell you where you can instantly download my full set of 23 Morgan Stanley interview questions and top scoring example answers, including the ones we are working through together today. Okay, the next interview question is, why Morgan Stanley? Or they might pose it as, why do you want to work for Morgan Stanley? Tip number one. So this next common Morgan Stanley interview question is assessing your motivations for wanting to work for this brilliant organization. So I recommend talking about their history, track record of success, and how you will get to collaborate with other like-minded professionals. Tip number 2. So in your answer, you could reference the fact that Morgan Stanley values diversity and how you recognize this as an asset to an organization. Here's my example response to assist you. Why Morgan Stanley? I want to work for Morgan Stanley because your history is impressive and your track record of success means I will get to work alongside talented people who I can learn from and collaborate with on exciting tasks and projects. I want to work at Morgan Stanley because you clearly value diversity. A diverse workplace is a very important asset, and it means you acknowledge the unique strengths of all employees and what they can bring to the company. I also want to work at Morgan Stanley because there will be opportunities for me to innovate and use my creative flair, which is important to me. Finally, I am attracted to the fact that you always give back to the local community. I too am a giving person, and I found this particular Morgan Stanley value very attractive. That's another brilliant model example answer that will help you pass your interview at the first attempt. Now, don't go anywhere because I still have more questions and answers to give you. But when you're ready, you can click that link in the top right-hand corner of the video, head straight through to my website, passmyinterview.com, and you can instantly download my full set of 23 Morgan Stanley interview questions and top scoring example answers in a PDF guide, including the ones we are working through together today. Here's the next question for you. Describe yourself in 3 words. Wow, this is a difficult interview question to answer correctly. So it's a difficult but common Morgan Stanley interview question that is assessing your understanding of yourself. Make sure you give 3 great words that make you stand out from the competition. Don't say, I would describe myself as a team worker, professional and smart. Those words are not unique enough. Tip number 2, in your answer, give your chosen 3 words and then go on to explain how they are useful in your work. Here's my example answer to help you. Describe yourself in 3 words. I would describe myself as analytical, industrious and quantitative. So I am analytical because I investigate things closely to find a solution and ask clients the right questions to meet their needs. I am industrious because I work hard and set myself goals to achieve. Finally, I am quantitative, meaning I use statistics and data to reach decisions and conclusions that are in the best interests of my employer. That's another really good answer that will help you stand out from the competition. Here's the next question. What are Morgan Stanley's 5 core values? And tell me a time you demonstrated one of them in the workplace. Wow, this is another really difficult interview question to answer correctly. Tip number 1. So it is very important that you read the Morgan Stanley values before you attend your interview. Make sure you read, learn and understand them because you'll be glad that you did. Tip number 2. I also recommend thinking of previous situations you've been in where you demonstrated each of the core values because this will help increase your chances of success. Here's my example answer. What are Morgan Stanley's 5 core values? And tell me a time you demonstrated one of them in the workplace. Here we go. The 5 Morgan Stanley core values are do the right thing, put clients first, lead with exceptional ideas, commit to diversity and inclusion, and give back. I have demonstrated several of these values in previous roles. For example, in my last job, a client wanted to pay for a service we offered. Now, it was our most expensive service, but after assessing their needs, I felt the service was not entirely suitable to their needs. The easy thing for me to do would have been to give them that service to make more money for the company, but that wouldn't be putting the client first, and it certainly wouldn't be acting with integrity. Instead, I offered them a better solution at almost half the price because that was the right thing to do. That's a really good example answer. It shows that you can demonstrate one of the Morgan Stanley values in your day-to-day work. Here's the next question. What's your biggest weakness? Tip number 1. So this next question often catches people out. They either say they don't have any weaknesses and the fact is we all have weaknesses, or they say they are a perfectionist. That's not a good weakness to give. People give that. It's a cliched answer. Don't use it as a weakness. Tip number 2, give a weakness that will do you no harm in your role at Morgan Stanley and show a willingness to improve in your response. So have a read of the job description and don't give a weakness that is a match for any of the essential criteria listed there. Here's my example response. This is how I would answer this common Morgan Stanley interview question. What's your biggest weakness? My biggest weakness is the fact I'm not very confident at public speaking or giving talks to large groups of people. Now, I remember trying to give a presentation during my time at university, and it was much harder than I thought. However, this is a skill I want to develop. So if there are any opportunities in this role working for Morgan Stanley where I could give a presentation to my team, then I would like to give it another try. That's a great answer, and it's a safe weakness. Here's the next question. Tell me what you know about Morgan Stanley and what we do here. Tip number 1. So this is another common Morgan Stanley interview question that is assessing how much research you have carried out. So I recommend going on their website and looking into their history, their values, and their latest news stories. Tip number 2, because if you've researched Morgan Stanley, it tells the hiring manager you are genuinely interested in working for their organization long term and you want to build a successful career there. Here's my own example answer. Tell me what you know about Morgan Stanley and what we do here. Here we go. Morgan Stanley is an investment management and financial services company. Your main headquarters are based in Midtown Manhattan, New York, but you have many offices throughout the world in more than 41 countries. You employ in excess of 75,000 people, and your clients consist of private individuals, government organizations, corporations, and institutions. You are one of the largest corporations in the United States based on revenue. In 1997, there was a merger with the original Morgan Stanley and Dean Witter Discover & Co., but the name was changed back to Morgan Stanley in 2001. Now, the focus of the Morgan Stanley business as of today includes institutional securities and investment and wealth management. So to summarize, Morgan Stanley help people, organizations and institutions manage, build and preserve wealth so they can achieve their financial objectives. Morgan Stanley also assist organizations and individuals to raise, manage and distribute capital in order to realize their goals. So that's a great model answer to help you answer that common Morgan Stanley interview question. Here's the next one. Now, this one comes up all the time during Morgan Stanley interviews for all roles. Tell me about a time you failed. Tip number 1. So failure is an opportunity to improve, learn and grow. People who respond by saying they've never failed are not telling the truth. We've all failed, but it's your honesty and attitude towards failure that are being assessed here. Tip number 2, give a situation where you failed and then explain what you learned from it to improve. So here's my own example answer to help you. Tell me about a time you failed. In my first job, my manager gave me an important task to complete. Now, I was required to analyze company sales data and collate it for a presentation she was giving in a week's time. Now, in my hastiness to get the task finished as soon as possible, I didn't take notes or ask any questions. Instead, I went head on into the task, and when I delivered it with 3 days to spare, my manager pointed out I had missed out certain elements of the project because I hadn't listened properly. I apologized and immediately set to work again putting things right. Now, I learned a huge amount from that experience, and I now ask questions to determine the brief, take notes and prioritize my work to ensure nothing gets missed. So in that answer, you are being honest. You recognize you've made a mistake, you've failed, you've apologized, you set to work to put things right. But more importantly, that last paragraph says that you learned a lot from the experience and you now do things differently to overcome that previous failure. So it's a really good answer. Here's the next question. How do you deal with working lots of hours and under pressure? So this next question is one I would prepare for if I were attending a Morgan Stanley interview. So it assesses your motivations for the level of responsibility you will have whether you are adaptable and also can handle the pressure that comes with working in investment banking and the financial sector. Tip number 2, show you have a plan in place for working under pressure and make sure you're positive about what is expected of you in your role at Morgan Stanley. So here's my example answer to help you. How do you deal with working lots of hours and under pressure? Here we go. Because I am energetic, enthusiastic and hungry to learn, I am prepared for working lots of hours at Morgan Stanley, and I see this as an important part of my career progression and development. I don't believe you can achieve all your clients' financial goals if you aren't committed to working lots of hours. I am used to working under pressure and believe I am at my best when I have very tight deadlines to meet and I need to manage lots of responsibilities. I deal with these things by remaining calm and focused on my objectives, and I look ahead to assess what potential barriers or obstacles I could encounter along the way. Outside of work, I keep myself fit and active and I eat a healthy diet. Now, these things enable me to maintain peak energy and concentration levels for when I am at work. So I'm sure you will agree that is a positive answer. It shows that working lots of hours and under pressure is not a problem for you. You have a plan in place and you take good care of yourself, which is really important. Now, the next thing to do is click that link right now in the top right-hand corner of the video. Head straight through to my website, passmyinterview.com, and you can instantly download my full set of 23 Morgan Stanley interview questions and top scoring example answers in a PDF guide. It contains all of the answers I've given you today, plus lots more in a PDF guide. So you can literally have it in your inbox within 2 minutes from now. Make sure you go through to that website at the very least, because I have put some really important tips on there to help you prepare fully for your Morgan Stanley interview. So you can check out all the questions I recommend you prepare for. And if you want to, you can download all of my example answers. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. As I said at the start, literally thousands of you are passing your interviews. If you are subscribed, I can help you not just pass every job interview you ever attend, I can help you to negotiate a salary, get a pay rise, and also progress throughout your career. Please give the video a like. It's a small ask, but it really does motivate me to create more content for you. And don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn. I've put my LinkedIn link in the description below the video. It's always an honor and a pleasure to connect with like-minded professionals such as yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all the best for passing your Morgan Stanley interview. Have a great day.